What would you like to know about the traffic stop? I'll tell you anything you want.
I'd like to know, was there a victim?
She crossed over a railroad crossing when the lights were still flashing.
Right. Was there a victim, though? Was there a complainant?
The complainant was me when she went over the railroad track.
It affected you?
Flashing.
Were you injured in some way?
No.
Then why did you pull her over?
Did you think you had the
because
right
that's
to...
a traffic violation. According to state code.
Sodomy is also illegal. Do we enforce that?
I'm not going to get in a debate like this with you. That's what I'm telling you right now. That's what I stopped her for.
So you're just saying you do your job, even though you've admitted there was no victim but yourself.
What do you mean there was no victim? The violation is that there was it's a state code that is a violation that you are not allowed to go over railroad crossings when the gates are flashing.
Right, so I'm asking you, you're allowing your own actions to be directed by some text on paper. What happens if that text on paper harms peaceful people who haven't caused victims?
Well, how did I harm her? By giving her a written
because you made her stop.
Yeah, she was
you interfered.
In fear. A guy with
now you're making an assumption.
You have a gun, sir. We are scared of that.
You could have asked her if she was in fear, but you didn't.
I bet she was. I bet 90%.
You told him not to ask.
I'm assuming if someone has a gun with sirens, I would be afraid.
So what would you have done if she did not stop?
What are you talking about?
You said there was no victim but yourself. You haven't been able to prove any demonstrable harm, yet you claim the right to be able to pull her over. And why?
If you guys want to talk, you can get out of the roadway so you're not staying in the roadway.
Okay, that'd be great. You want to pull over here? Okay.
My question, so you said you went across some lights on the railroad or violated the state ordinance, but you said you were the victim, but can you show how you were harmed?
I said that was the violation is the code that is running the Ohio Revised Code. Okay.
So do you enforce all of Ohio Revised Code laws?
Okay.
Who's the victim? I guess is what we're trying to.
The victim is it's the state code. Okay, so that's the state code is saying.
What is the state?
Is the state the victim then?
But at one time, state code said that if you house someone who is escaping from slavery,
you should return them.
So we went from a traffic stop to slavery.
No, it's about law.
You said it's following a law, and I'm trying to point out that sometimes man-made legislation doesn't sync with natural law or common law or God's law.
That's a debate that you have to be with the lawmakers.
But you're hurting people. You're violating people. We know.
Are you going to let me talk?
You're violating that woman's rights.
Well, just let him talk.
I'm sorry.
Okay. If that's something, if you don't feel that statute is right, then that's something to talk with the lawmakers. Okay. I don't make the law. I just have to enforce it.
You enforce all laws?
If it was against the law to house slaves, would you enforce that law? No?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
You would.
You would actually.
And to a certain point, there's only so much, for what.
So if if pedophilia was legal, would you enforce that law?
If it was legal?
Yeah, if it was legal, would you allow that?
I'm not. So we're getting a debate over.
No, I mean it's just about
what's right or wrong.
Where's the victim?
So I know what you're getting into.
I'm just saying, just because it's a law, does that make it right? And how many laws would you enforce if it was against your moral conscience? And where do you draw that line?
Well, right now there's nothing that I can see that's pedophilia is illegal. So
what if it was illegal?
I'm just
say what now?
What if it was legal?
But the thing is, at the end of the day, it's not a law. It's not text on paper some strangers made that we've never met who claim to serve for us, but they have no idea what our preferences are, what we want to pursue.
And that's so. What you do is you vote the people.
We vote every day with our actions, and right now you're choosing to act based on some text someone put on paper that might not sync with you internally when you think about it. And all we're saying is there could be a better.
That's a safety thing. Say she's crossing that railroad. We're basing this on a traffic stop that I just. Okay. A train that just passed the crossing. There's no gates that are come down.
No, we agree. It's risky.
It's risky.
But the issue is why do you yourself think you have the right to pull her over? And you're saying you're acting based on some text some people put on paper. But why? Why not? Why not pull her over and say, hey, like I live in your community. I don't feel safe you doing that. Okay, cool. Like maybe she's cool about it, but we don't need someone to follow blindly rules without thinking about them.
Especially given no victim.
Okay, so
nobody was harmed in this.
It's okay to try to.
She was harmed in this situation.
I mean, you never know.
But it could have been. I could go out and
then
murder
she'd be
somebody.
held
Are you going to arrest me
responsible.
now or before I commit an act? But before I harm somebody, would you arrest me? No, because
pre-crime.
you don't have any proof that any harm would have taken place. So you don't have any proof that any harm would have taken place. You're assuming yourself that harm
I didn't give her a citation on that. That was just a warning.
And if she had done it again, if you witnessed her do it one more time, would you give her another warning or would you cite her?
If she would have done it again, probably would have cited her for it.
Okay, so you would eventually harm her for her harming no one.
I don't know if
it's a monetary loss and it is harm.
Well, hey, if you mind staying out of the road,
I'm sorry.
sir.
Sorry about that.
If you don't mind about that, we got cars coming by. So,
So monetary harm is harm, even though she had harmed no one.
well, we're getting into a debate with.
It's not really a debate. It's just
Morality.
It's just the fact of it.
You
She
hurt
has not
somebody.
caused any harm, and you were saying you would harm her, even though she has not caused such harm.
By pulling her over, it would be harm, I would think, because she was on her way somewhere eventually. I think that's wrong.
Well, I tell you, what you have the issues with is what you feel is right and what other people feel is right.
Right. Do you think it's right?
If you don't like the way the legislation is wrote for rules or regulations or what's in the Ohio code, that would be something
So
that.
let me ask you another thing. If let's say the legislator passed something that you were morally opposed to, and you are a cop, would you enforce that, even though you're morally opposed to it?
morally opposed to it.
Like it was slavery.
Anything.
Slavery.
Anything that you feel strongly against, would you commit that action just because it's law? To do so, to enforce such law, would you enforce any bad law? Or where would you draw your personal line?
It depends on what you consider a bad law.
No, it depends on what you consider a bad law in this example. If you can think of something that is against your personal moral code, how far would you go as a police officer to enforce it? And what would you do if you found that line? Would you cross it just because you're a police officer?
What? It is hard to think about.
I mean, it's something that you'd have until I was put in that situation. I don't know how I would really react with that.
Sure.
I mean, it's something.
And it might be something that you would want to think about because it is really your discretion. Police officers use discretion all the time for what laws they enforce. And maybe a victimless crime is not something that you might feel comfortable with doing if she hasn't harmed anybody. And it might be something that you can consider for the future, and really protecting what's right and going after real criminals who've harmed people. That's all we really advocate here. Okay. And did you need a couple more of these, and you can give them to you?
Actually,
whatever you'd like to give me.
Sure, we would love to give you some. We're not against
Sure.
you, sir.
Do you guys have anything else? For
I
me?
got one of your cards.
Okay.
There, right? I'll take one of those.
Sure. I really appreciate you talking with us.
Not a problem. All right.
Yeah,
And just something to think about, and maybe you could.
there's another organization.
What's that now?
This is another organization.
Oh, another
too.
organization.
No, it's just an
And
education.
we'd like you to maybe consider focusing more on protecting people who are having harm actually perpetrated against them, instead of focusing on victimless crimes. It's just something you would consider. I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You guys have a good day.
See you next time.
Yep.